Okay, good. Welcome everyone. Tonight is the seventh session, right? Seventh session, which means we have one more session after tonight for the course. And then at the end of the class today, I'll tell you what options you have for after we're done with these 8 sessions. In the meantime, little bookkeeping. So next week is the eighth session, and it falls, of course, on Christmas Day, right? So I'm happy to teach, but I also know that people have other plans. So maybe we'll just take a quick vote to see who would be attending or not attending next Thursday, 6 p.m. Let's start with who will not be able to attend next Thursday. Okay, it's most of you. Good. All right. So why don't we skip next Thursday? I'll cancel it. And then we'll pick, well, then the following Thursday is January 1st. So are you able to attend January? Who cannot attend January 1st? Okay. So Joanne, you'll watch it on video, but we'll just reconvene and I'll send out an email with all this stuff and we'll reconvene after tonight. We'll have our eighth session January 1st. And then on January 8th, we'll have a session, um, our ninth session. Lama Lanang will join us and he'll probably speak for a few moments and then answer any questions you might have. So
What day is that again? The 8th?
that's January 8th, correct?
Thank
Will
you.
that be our final exam, Morty?
As I like to tell people, your final exam is about 5 seconds before you die. That's how you figure out how well you did in the class,
Yeah.
as well as in life. Okay, so let me spotlight myself here. And then we'll get going. All right. So just a brief, well, first of all, I was going to do a brief recap of everything, of course. But before I do that, any questions on anything we talked about last week? We'll talk about more about from last week. Again, I'll review that. But before we off to the races, any comments or questions on anything we've talked about so far? It's all so obvious to everyone, I'm sure, myself included. Okay. Well, feel free to interrupt me if you have a comment or a question. Go ahead. Anyone? No? I didn't see any hands. No. Okay. So just a recap. Um, we added the following to our meditation practice. Those of us that are meditating daily or whenever you can, as always beforehand, before the practice, we have an aspiration. You can make up your own. Some people say, may all beings be free from suffering, something like that. Or you can express a sense of gratitude for something in your life. Once again, to work on our open-mindedness and our generosity and our non-self-centeredness. And then after meditation, we can add 5, 10, 15, 20-second dedication of merit. We'll talk more about dedication of merit tonight. And that's where, once again, you can also dedicate the merit from this meditation to all the beings that are suffering, or the people that are suffering in Gaza or Israel, or the dogs, or something like that. So you can dedicate the merit to someone or some other group. And you can do this with all kinds of activities. You make a donation, you can dedicate the merit from that donation to someone who needs help, or to all sentient beings without exception. Um, so you're basically amplifying that merit and potentially aiding or helping someone else. So now we go through our life and we monitor our thoughts and our speech and our actions. We're checking our motivation behind everything we say, think, or do as much as we can. If we notice that our motivation is selfish or self-centered, then we have the ability to change our motivation or to change our thoughts, speech, and action. Eventually, it sounds like a lot of work. It is, but eventually it becomes very natural and very easy. You're just starting new habits. And once you start new habits and you get used to it, then it's very easy not to have speech that's harmful, or not to have thoughts that are harmful to yourself or others. We have the ability to change our tendencies. Takes time. Takes time. Okay. We talked about mantras and how they allow us to have direct resonance or connection with an enlightened mind of a Buddha or a Bodhisattva. And how that works, it focuses and calms the mind by reciting a mantra over and over and over again, either out loud or a whisper, or in your mind. You can do that as well. If let's say it's late at night, you want to recite mantras, but someone's sleeping, you can do it then as well to yourself, to in your mind. So it focuses and calms the mind. It purifies your mental habits as we start to pick up and immerse ourselves in the characteristics of these great beings, great Buddhas. Of course, it generates positive karma because it's a very non-dualistic activity that creates benefit for others, so it creates positive karma. It connects you with specific qualities of enlightenment. So if you're interested in compassion for yourself or for others, then there's certainly many mantras. Om Mani Padme Om is something that's very popular. Mantra of compassion. If you want a protection from fear or anxiety, Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha, which is the mantra of the green Tara. And there are many, many more mantras, of course, to pick and choose from. It helps to regulate subtle energy. So those of us, breathing calms the mind calms your breath, your whole body becomes calm. So that's helpful there. Supports mindfulness throughout the day if you want to repeat the mantra throughout the day, and opens your heart and strengthens devotion. So that's all a very, very good thing. Um, and then we talked about rebirth. I had a very big topic, rebirth. We asked what dies. Certainly the brain, the body, they're gone. They're no longer working once we die. And what lives on is something called subtle consciousness. Subtle consciousness, it's not a soul or a permanent spirit or a permanent self, but it is a stream of moment to moment awareness, right? We all know what consciousness means in the regular English language. This is a subtle consciousness. So in the English language, when we use the word consciousness, we're talking about our senses, our awareness, our hearing, our seeing, things like that. And then below that, there's a little bit more subtle conscious, which is active when you're sleeping, or when you're meditating, or you're dreaming. And then below that is something called very subtle consciousness, and that is what lives on, which is a mind or a mental continuum that lives on. So our consciousness exists as this ongoing mental continuum. It's not in physical space. So in Tibetan Buddhism, the consciousness after death does not reside in place. It exists as a subtle stream of awareness. The bardo is that state of experience. It's not a realm in space, and the consciousness continues due to karma. So the analogy that Tibetan Buddhists like to give is, imagine your mind is like the sky. Sometimes the sky is full of clouds, worries, anger, fear, excitement. Sometimes it's stormy, you have big emotions. Sometimes it's dark. But behind all that is this always bright, clear sky. And that clear sky is called in Tibetan Buddhism the mind of clear light. It's a very deep, calm mind. It's pure awareness, the part of you that is peaceful and bright, the place inside you that doesn't get hurt or scared. It's obscured by all of our thoughts and all of our habits, but once we pull those away, pull those away, pull those away, eliminate them, then you'll be able to see and feel that level of awareness is always there, even when you can't see it. Most of the time we don't notice it because we're busy looking at the clouds. And when we're alive, it's here as well. It's always present, but it's hidden. It's hidden. And if you go into a very, very deep meditation, then you can recognize it. You can become aware of it. The other analogy that they give in Tibetan Buddhism, it's like this very, very deep undercurrent beneath waves on the ocean. So now we're in the afterlife. We're there for up to 49 days. And there are many different stages in the bardo, which I don't go into. It's in the book. You can read about it. And the amount of control that we have over our very subtle consciousness in the bardo depends entirely on our training and our realization while alive. So it's no different than if I say to you, hey, next time you dream, why don't you control your dream? Why don't you do A, B, C? You say, I can't do that. I'm dreaming. I have no control over it. So you're subject while you're dreaming in this life to whatever dreams pop in and out of your mind. We're out of control. But if you are able to practice meditation, awareness, lucid dreaming, things like that, then when you're in the dream plane in this life, you might say, hey, I'm dreaming. Oh, there's a monster. Oh, that's funny. That's an illusion. I'm not going to get upset about that. Oh, look, there's someone over there. They're yelling at me. I'm not going to get upset over that. That's an illusion. So we get a certain degree of control over ourselves um, in this life, and then that transfers over. So the dream is a reflection of your state of mind. The bardo is a reflection of your karma. So, so now is our opportunity in this lifetime to become calm, equanimical, and recognize that virtually everything around us is a form of an illusion.
Mhm.
And that control, that training follows through into the bardo. So some control is possible if the mind is trained. If you're not a trained practitioner, then it could be a very, very bad dream, out of control. If you're a trained practitioner, then you can recognize that those appearances are your mind. You can merge with the clear light. The clear light is another way of saying that that level of awareness that is in all of us all the time. We just don't know it's there. We don't recognize it. If you have some training, then you can recognize that clear light in the afterlife, which is part of you as well, and that's called something called a mother and child reunion. When you recognize that clear light, that you're a part of that clear light, it's always been there. That's why they call it mother and child reunion, getting together. Reunion means like you lost your mother, you see your mother, you go, there did my mother you. So it's a reunion. Um, and that takes some training as well, of course. So, and then time for rebirth. So what is the momentum for the consciousness to seek rebirth? The consciousness, very subtle consciousness, does not decide which parents should I pick and choose. It doesn't work like that. The way it works is there's a propulsion. You're propelled into rebirth by a momentum. What's the momentum? The momentum is your karma and your desire to be in a physical body. Because right now, if you're in the bardo, then you're like in a dream. You have no control. You just kind of run. Everything's out of control, and the body and the mind, very subtle conscious mind, craves to be in a body. It craves for existence again. It has a lot of fear. It says, "Oh, let me center myself into a physical body." And all this is largely unconscious, of course, unless you have a lot of training. So it's kind of like the craving acts like a magnet, pulling the consciousness toward any available form of rebirth, and and that could be problematic. If you don't make if your karma and your training do not allow you to make a good choice. Okay, so in one sense, the momentum toward rebirth comes from not from a conscious decision, but from a deep unconscious forces that continue after death. So that's the motivation for us to train our mind, state of mind now. It's not only it gives us an opportunity to have a free mind now as we speak, but also prepares us for the moment of death or the final exam, the rebirth, and then also the only thing you take with you into the next world, your karma. So, you can get it all done now, or you can, as they do in Groundhog's Day, just keep coming back over and over and over again. Okay, that was a long recap, um, but it's a lot of information there. Comments, questions on anything that we talked about. It's a lot going on for sure.
Well, Simon speaks of the mother-child reunion.
Sorry. Yeah, any comments, questions on anything? All clear as a bell.
Why 49 days though?
It's up to 49 days. So, and if you, different traditions also teach different things. So I forget that there's some traditions that say, oh, it happens the next day that you're reborn. But it could be up to 49 days, could be 7 days, 14 days, 21 days. I'm not sure what determines that. Um, and there are also some very subtle consciousness that never return. They just or become ghosts.
So is it just our concept of 49 days or because like time's linear? It's not really like, is it our concept of 49 days or is it like,
It's up
you know
to,
what I mean?
it is our concept of 49 days, correct. So, for example, when great beings pass, some of them will write a note or a letter and leave clues as to what city, what town, what family they will be reborn in. And they'll give time, and sometimes they'll give time frames on it as well. And then typically when at the age of, they'll start looking around for that boy or girl at the age of 1.5 or 2, and they'll get signs on where or messages left from the deceased on where to look for that person. So it's definitely those days are days as we know them. And if you're very advanced, then some people can actually feel it like, oh, so and so's in the bardo or so and so's out of the bardo, that kind of thing. So in the Tibetan Buddhist world, typically an advanced practitioner or a lama or a rinpoche or his students and or monks will sit with the body and say prayers for many, many weeks. Certainly say prayers for up to 49
Mm,
days. And
mm.
sometimes they'll actually sit with the body. I don't know if the body stays there all 49 days or just 7 days. That's not clear to me, but they will absolutely say their prayers to, which we'll talk about more prayers later tonight, to help that very subtle consciousness not get distracted. Not get distracted means don't get distracted by all the illusions that we see in the bardo.
So why do they sit with the body?
The consciousness is typically hovering.
Oh, okay.
And if you read about near death experiences, NDEs, um, and there's a lot of data on that, then what happens is sometimes someone will die, literally, on an operating room table, something like that. And then, for hours, sometimes even days, and the very subtle consciousness, which before it comes back to life, it'll hover over the body and it'll see doctors and nurses talking about their golf game or whatever. It's all stuff they come back when they come back into the body and they live again. They say, hey, this is what we saw. So the body typically will hover in those cases. Obviously, if a body, sometimes when people die in a car accident, it's a big shock. Or in other, when someone's not ready, whatever the word ready means, they will, and you see this on TV and movies all the time, they'll actually resist it and not think that they're dead.
Mm.
So this is all meant to calm the very subtle consciousness and to encourage it to move on appropriately. Don't hang around. And those of you that have read the book, I don't have my commercial book with me, Tibetan Book of the Dead for Beginners. There are one or two prayers there that someone can say, whisper into the ear of the person before they're dying and even after they die to encourage that very subtle consciousness to move forward and not be distracted. The
Okay.
body, with great beings, the body does not decay.
Okay. Okay.
But regardless, if there's a cremation after 7, 10, 14 days, something like that, they will continue to say those prayers for up to 49 days.
Okay. Because I've heard that the Buddhists recommend 3 days. That sometimes someone dies, leave the body alone for 3 days. But is that kind of a bow to the Western world to?
I don't know the answer to that because there's also different traditions.
Right.
So Theravadan is different than Tibetan, different than I don't know what they do in the Zen tradition.
Mhm.
And also, yeah, typically have issues if the body's in the hospital.
Mhm.
Hospitals aren't going to, unless it's a great great Rinpoche that dies, where they might be able to get permission and pay for it, of course. The hospitals don't want sitting around dead body for, any number of days like that.
Okay, thank you.
So I have actually two questions. One, in the Preparation for Death by Halchek, he talks about organ donations,
Mm.
and that kind of supersedes kind of what you're saying. The second question, which is really not related to that, is the terrible death of Rob Reiner.
Mhm.
And where is he in Bardo? And how can we reconcile that kind of death?
I'm going to check the New York Post if that's okay with you, and I'll see.
Whatever.
I'm sure the New York Post is reporting on where he is in the Bardo. So my first answer is I don't know. I can only give you my opinion and my best guess.
Yeah.
Definitely in the Bardo, that's for sure. Very subtle consciousness is probably in a large degree of shock. Didn't die a peaceful death.
Wait, he died a peaceful death?
Didn't die a peaceful death,
Oh, no, he did not. No.
right?
Yeah.
So, and he's in the Bardo, which and I don't know if he's a trained meditator or not. I have no idea what his spiritual level is. And even if he was, I can't read people's spiritual level. I'm not that kind of person. But, he's in a very, if the Bardo is a reflection of his mind, then he's probably not in a great place because of how he died. And that's unfortunately a reflection of his karma.
But I don't want to necessarily get into a discussion about this, but his karma was his son that had severe drug problems,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a victim of that, right?
Yes, they were probably both victims of that. I mean, the son and the parents,
Yeah.
and karma is not something like, oh, let's place blame. Who's responsible for this? That's not what it's about. It's about whatever decisions we've made and whatever conditions that have surrounded us in our life have brought us to where we are at this moment.
Thank you.
So, it's not like, oh, gee, I told you he should have said something different 2 nights ago. It would have all been different. I mean, maybe, but, but it's not typically that simple. It's pretty complicated.
I'm sure.
Yeah. But yeah, my sense is he's in the Bardo and he's probably, unless he's a spiritual practitioner of some kind, it's probably in a lot of confusion, as we all would be, in a very violent, shocking, personal, intimate death like that. Good. Any other, Sam, did you have a question? Any other questions or
No.
comments? No? Okay. Joanne? No? Okay.
What if I don't agree with all that? All of it.
You doesn't have to agree with any of it.
Okay.
Everything I offer is optional.
All right.
So you take what, including the meditation, and everything, literally. You say, hey, I believe in that. I don't believe in that. I'm going to like that. And this is what the Dalai Lama says, take what benefits you.
Perfect.
And if it doesn't, that's okay.
I believe in reincarnation and all that. It's just the time period. I don't know. That's pretty I don't know. Yeah. As long as
Yeah. On certain things like that, I obviously don't speak from experience because I don't remember being in the Bardo. I don't remember my last death. Some people do. I don't.
yeah.
So the way I look at it is because I study with some great beings and I've done quite a bit of personal study and looked at some of the science behind it, things of that nature. Specifically, University of Virginia has a whole department that studies rebirth, things like that. So I am a strong believer in it. Would I say it's a fact? Well, I don't know. I don't know what facts are these days.
So
And
you're a believer in the 49-day period or just
up to
okay.
could be 7 days, could be 12, could be 15, could be 18.
Okay.
Is the 49-day thing a rule? I don't think there are any rules personally.
So Marty, the 49 days, that's actually,
Up to 49 days.
okay, but even that, I mean, in
And
some books,
wait a second. And if this is a Theravadan class, I'm pretty sure they say up to 7 days. So it's like, what's what? What's going on here? I don't know the answer to that. But go ahead, Ann. Sorry.
so when they seek out the Karmapa and the Dalai Lama,
Right.
I mean, is that how they verified this 49-day, or less thing? Because I mean, you're looking at date of death, date of birth, assume you go back 9 months to rebirth. Is that how they come up with that number?
I don't know. My guess is they don't come up with that. Well, that may be how they verify um, when they find the little Tibetan boy in some mountain who's a reincarnation of a great teacher, and they say, "Well, what day was he born?" And they go, "Oh, okay." And what day did so and so die?
Mm.
And then it's not like every single time it's 49 days. It could be 3 months, in my opinion. Could be 2 weeks. Don't know. But they want to have a sense of are we close here? And then of course there's many other tests that little boy or girl have to go through to make sure it's the right reincarnation. My sense is that they get those numbers really from great masters who have, these are people that have meditate, 10, 12 hours a day, maybe 24 hours a day for years on end, and just have greater insight to how those mechanisms work than we do. That's probably where they get that number from of up to 49 days. But like I said, other Buddhists believe in different time frames. I think there's a group that believes it happens the next day. Like I said, next day, boom, gone.
Wow.
But I wouldn't get hung up on that. I wouldn't get hung up on anything, except I would focus more on, once again, what can we do to have some degree of control over our mind so we have a happy life now, and so that when that time comes for all of us, we are not like we are now, which is when we have dreams, not recognizing that it's an illusion and thinking that they're real and reacting accordingly. That's what we need to look at. Not, well, is it 49 days? Is it 42? I don't know. It's like, to me, it's meaningless.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Thank you.
okay. So good. Any other questions on that? Okay. So my favorite topic for many years was death. Now I have a new favorite topic. It's called prayers in Buddhism. And so we have lots of different prayers in Buddhism, in all religions. Prayers for gratitude, prayers for good health for ourselves, for others, prayers for beings that are in the bardo to help encourage their consciousness to move forward, prayers to become wealthy, prayers to remove obstacles, protection, taking refuge, things like that. And we pray in a manner to absorb and immerse ourselves in the enlightened state of mind, in the mind of a deity or the mind of a great being. So we can achieve that connection through visualization of various deities, those who have lived, or meditational deities, those that may not have even existed as human beings. And as we meditate on those entities, their enlightened characteristics and personalities, for example, are compassionate. You meditate on that deity, then you can obviously immerse yourself in that sense of compassion. And that frequency may not be quite the right word, but those characteristics that they have, we have them too. So we're not meditating to something outside of us. We are meditating to, um, someone mentioned the other night when we were talking, a role model that is also a part of us. So we can take on those characteristics ourselves. We already have that innate, inherent nature in us that you have in a Buddha or a great deity, Amitabha, Guru Rinpoche, Tara. We already have that, but we don't recognize it. So by doing visualizations and prayers, that enables us to be and feel more like them. So green Tara, for example, Tara, known as the Mother of Compassion, they say that she hears the cries of the world and reacts immediately. So we can take on and reacts immediately with great compassion. So we can take that on. The medicine Buddha obviously is for healing. So the question I have is, how do prayers help us or someone else? And I've identified three categories, and then I definitely want to get your input on it. So the three categories are, one is I'm praying for myself. Okay. I get a lot of anger, anxiety, or what have you, and I want to heal myself or help myself. Okay, that's one category. And I think we can all understand how that mechanism works. Well, if I do meditation, I'll be calmer, I'll be more open-minded, I'll be generous, I'll be compassionate. I'll become more like a Buddha. Okay, I think we can all see that, how that works out. Here's another category. I want to help someone else. I want to pray to heal someone else. Well, if we're in close proximity to that person, well, then it might be easy to impact that person because we become more calm and more loving as we pray, as we meditate, more compassionate. And that person right next to us, they can feel that. They can see that. And will relate to them, and they'll pick up that vibe explicitly, consciously, subconsciously, whatever, and that will help them heal too. And yeah, I can easily believe and see how that works. The question I have is, what if we're not close to someone? The person I am want to help or heal or pray for are thousands of miles away, and they're not close. They don't even know that we're praying for them. They don't know us from a hole in the wall, and maybe some of them don't even believe in it. So how does that work? Is that, we pray for that all the time. Oh, there's a shooting somewhere. Oh, our prayers go out to the family. Okay, whatever. What does that mean?
Quantum entanglement.
Say it again.
Quantum
Quantum
entanglement.
entanglement. Got it. Can you define that for me?
We're all connected. We're all spiritual beings living. I won't say it in a meat suit, but I just did. But we're human bodies and at the same time spiritual beings, I think. So we're all connected. I mean, we're all connected.
How are we all connected? By phone?
Through the ethers. I don't know. I can't explain it because I'm not a quantum physicist, but
Mhm.
I just believe it.
Got it. Okay, so it's a belief. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Right. Sure. So, and Tibetan Buddhism teaches just that beings are all deeply relational, interconnected, and what we say is because body, mind, experience all arises and we share countless causes and conditions. So even though my body, mind, or experience arises on its own, and so does yours, but we share all these different causes and conditions. And that sharing is that relational connection. So I used causes and conditions. We say that a lot, especially in Tibetan Buddhism. So you want to plant a seed to grow a flower or a tree, something like that. That seed is called a cause, primary cause. Well, what conditions are required for that plant to grow? It needs water, it needs sun, it needs fertilizer, it needs maybe some wind, lots of conditions. So cause and conditions. Now, when will that seed blossom? When will it grow? Well, it depends on how much water, how much sun, not a lot of sun, too much water. So when you only have some of the condition, let's say you have no water, but I have the seed and I have the fertilizer and I have the sun. Well, so a lot of conditions have to come together for that to grow. When will it grow? How will it grow? A lot of unknowns or uncertainty. And that's an analogy that is very, very true for us as humans, which is, yes, I agree with Joanne. That's how Tibetan Buddhists look at it, or Buddhists in general, which is we're deeply relational, deeply interconnected, because every moment of our experience depends on countless causes and conditions, many of which we share with others. So let's talk about prayer, because I like to understand the mechanism behind prayer. The moment you begin praying let's say you want to pray for someone to heal. The moment you begin praying with genuine, non-dualistic compassion, and we'll define that in a moment. When you pray with non-dualistic compassion, not just any compassion, non-dualistic compassion, that intention, together with dedication of merit, creates causes that can function as conditions to help others heal. Wow, that was a big sentence. Again, when we start to pray with genuine, non-dualistic compassion, that intention, together with dedication of merit, creates causes, that's the seed, that may function as conditions for others to heal. May function, no guarantee. So what does non-dualistic compassion mean? That means, here's one kind of prayer. Susie broke her leg. I pray that she heals quickly. I'm going to pray Susie's leg heals quickly. I'm going to meditate. Okay. That's called dualistic compassion. There's me and there's Susie outside of me. Nothing wrong with that, but that's not how we pray from a Buddhist perspective. We pray with non-dualistic compassion. Well, what would that sound like? May Susie's leg heal, and all people that have that kind of issue, that medical issue, may they heal too, and may all beings, without exception, may the merit from this prayer go to reduce their suffering. Non-dualistic compassion, meaning that it's not just about me and hoping Susie heals. It's really all sentient beings that we are interested in reducing suffering. That's what makes it non-dualistic. So that intention, remember the word intention, we used that word when we talked about karma, that intention of non-dualistic compassion, together with dedication of merit, creates the cause that may function, no guarantee, as conditions for others to heal. For example, if you visualize the medicine Buddha, and you generate sincere compassion, non-dualistic, you're reciting mantras or prayers, and then you dedicate that merit to a specific person and all sentient beings. That serves as supportive or a type of condition for the person to help that person heal as well as others. We want to get away from the dualistic sense of I'm trying to heal her. Very dualistic. It's better to say or feel I did not turn away from suffering. It's a big difference. We might say things like, may whatever goodness arises here become a condition for the alleviation of suffering wherever possible. Or may it serve as a condition for the relief of Susie's suffering if and when conditions allow, and all other sentient beings. So what we're directing here is this intention informed by non-dual awareness. So when dedication is done from an ordinary conceptual mind, I hope Susie gets better, dedicate this merit to Susie, there's an effect, because we all, at least Joanne and I agree that it's all relational, we're all relational, but the effect is limited. From a stabilized, compassionate, non-grasping awareness, the effect is broader and less obstructed. Why? Dualistic grasping constricts karmic flow. I don't know if you remember when we talked about karma, we said, gee, open-mindedness generates positive karma. Selflessness generates positive karma. A sense of impermanence. What's the opposite of that? Everything's solid, everything's permanent. Me, I, versus you. Very dualistic. That type of thinking and mentality constricts karmic flow. Okay. That was simple. Comments, questions. There's more, but I'm taking a 1 minute break before I give you a little bit more of what's going on.
So,
Confusing? Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
quick question.
Yeah.
So does that mean because dualistic is limited because it's one or the other? Non-dualistic allows it for a boundless magnification because it's not one or the other. It's one plus 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 plus.
We are all
And
part of,
the magnification of it, of the prayer or whatever, the thoughts or
I'd like to change the word magnification a little bit. Okay.
okay.
So we're all part of this causal web, our very, very deep level of that very subtle consciousness, that level of awareness that sometimes we're in touch with when we're in a very, very deep meditation where the you and the I goes away. There's no other. We're just part of this whole universe. And when we are able to have an intention that is non-dual, that allows that causal web to be recognized. It's always been there. And when that happens, that provides a condition, if we're talking about healing, for someone who is sick to be healed. Now, that person is sick for a lot of reasons, and they're going to get better for a lot of conditions that have to happen. They have to have a good doctor. Maybe they have to have money. They have to be in a house or a hospital, good medication, the right, lots of different things can happen for that person, hopefully, to heal. This, our prayer, adds another condition, supporting condition, for that to take place when we're non-dualistic. And of course, sincere, strong intention. Now, if you want magnification, I would say, great, let's raise our motivation. Let's raise our intention. That to me is what would create magnification, as opposed to just like, I'll say three mantras for Susie and hope she and the rest of the sentient beings have less suffering. Okay, well, not a lot of intention there.
So because you add the sentient beings, you just basically not creating your prayer just for the one person, it's for everybody. So
Right.
that energetically it magnifies because then your intention is enlarged rather than centered in the one person alone. Right.
Right. We become non-dual.
Okay. All right. Okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah. I'm not the healer and you're the person being healed. And that's I mean, that's how I'm thinking 99% of the world prays. Nothing wrong with that. My opinion is that has effect, but probably limited effect, as opposed to, because I believe in everything that I'm teaching, as opposed to when you plug in, well, we're already plugged in, but when you recognize that we're part of this all, part of this clear light, and we live our lives that way, then when you pray in the manner I'm suggesting, you're more likely to have a stronger supportive condition. So what's interesting is we're not really trying to heal Susie. That's not what's happening. What we're doing is providing additional supportive conditions for her to get better. We're not sending white light. Oh, I'm going to send you some positive energy, some white light. That's great, great, whatever. That's something different, but that's not what we're doing when we pray. In fact, that's probably not really Buddhism. Although I'm more familiar with Tibetan Buddhism than other Buddhism, but I don't think they talk about that either. We all talk about it because it's something easy to imagine, and there's probably some benefit to it. You know, we're not the only ones that have effective, prayers. There's probably benefit to all kinds of prayers, for sure. But we pray this way, probably because we believe it has the greatest efficacy. So that intention, if you recall, is the core driver of karma. So when prayers are done mechanically, very little effect. When you do it with genuine compassion, focus, and sincerity, strong effect. That's where your magnification comes in. So that's why teachers emphasize clarity, visual clarity, emotional sincerity, dedication of merit at the end. So the practice works not because of words alone, but because the intention plants karmic causes that may shape experience when conditions allow. So let's say, for example, Susie's sick, and we all know there's many, many conditions that'll help heal her. And we do our prayers the way I describe them. There's no guarantee that she's going to come through because there's lots of conditions involved, including her own karma. So what we're really aiming for, it's not probably not the right word, is to reduce suffering. How it happens, when it happens, where it happens, we don't get into that. We do, well, I should say, we always say, may this happen immediately in some of our prayers. Immediately. May all sentient beings become enlightened immediately. We always go to that millionth degree to make a point. But we don't like have the expectation that, oh, I prayed, Susie should be better by now. Um, so dedication of merit, it's once again, you generate compassion, you concentrate the mind, we engage in prayers, mantras, visualizations, and then consciously dedicate the merit, the result, to someone else. When we do that, our intention directs the causal trajectory of that wholesome action. It directs it towards someone or a group of people. So, so instead of saying, "Oh, I'm going to give Susie white light. I'm going to give you money," it's more like there's a flow, and our intention is adding to that flow, and now we're going to redirect it and so it branches off the river into another area. We're redirecting our flow of intention. If we don't do that, then that karmic result tends to ripen primarily in our own mental continuum. But when we do that dedication, that's when it can be much, much broader, and more likely to ripen. So merit doesn't function like energy being sent anywhere. It alters the conditions that surround that person. And if karmic conditions are receptive, then that can support healing, reduce obstacles, ease suffering, improve clarity, resilience, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. That person does not need to believe for this to have an effect. If someone's unconscious, they have no idea what we're doing. That's okay. That's okay. But what we do by providing these conditions, supportive conditions, that happens. Just as we're affected by others' actions constantly without knowing it. So the same way that suffering is relational, when you suffer, I feel suffering, people suffer on the other side of the world, we feel it. Healing is relational as well. Liberation is relational. Our intention matters not because we can control outcomes, but because we're already part of this causal web, this clear light. And what dedication of merit simply acknowledges it and works within that causal web. Okay, another 30-second break. See if anyone's got any questions. A lot of information here. trying to say it in several different ways. So, clear light, talked about that briefly. Another way to look at it, or another way it's defined, is this empty, luminous nature of mind that we all have. It's a non-dual awareness, free of this subject-object fixation. Not a thing, it's not a field, it's not a background, it's not God, it's not cosmic consciousness, it's not something you send merit through. I'm going to send you some merit through the cosmic, through the clear light. It's the ground in which intention, dedication, and karmic patterns arise. So we have different levels of awareness. We have normal awareness. We have, I'm in the present moment, I'm meditating, I'm in the present moment, I'm playing tennis, I'm in the present moment, I'm in the zone. Okay, it's a little bit deeper. And then the next level is this clear light of nature of mind, which returns to it's our nature of mind returns to this all, connects to that all-knowing awareness that sometimes we can recognize it, though most of the time we don't. And that's the field which karma and conditions appear and unfold. So it's not a cosmic broadcast model. And there's no guarantees of a specific outcome. Karma is very complex, multi-causal. Healing can mean physical recovery. It can mean pain reduction. It can mean emotional peace. It can mean a gentle, lucid dying process. The aim in our prayers is reduction of suffering, not control over outcomes. And of course, if you're close to that person, then you have a greater chance because that person can see and feel that strong connection, and that can help them quite a bit. Um, if you're stable, you're calm, you're loving kindness, you have generosity, you have compassion, they're going to feel that. That helps them, obviously, very directly. Okay. Comments, questions? I have one more topic before we move on, but I know this is for me, it's a very big topic. I spent a lot of time on it, and I really, really, I love it, and I think that it can be very helpful to people. The way we typically pray in the Judeo-Christian cultures, society is very different, and I'm not saying it doesn't help. It probably does. I'm sure it does. But this is, I believe, opinion and belief is much deeper and has a greater efficacy. Anyone? Comments? Thoughts? Clear as a bell. No one?
No, I was just going to say, I'm sure that they're praying with intention as well.
They are. They absolutely are. And that's probably how I led most of my life, as I'm sure most of us have as well. Especially when there's someone close to you. And intention is probably the number one cause. But if we want to increase that efficacy and make use of that causal relational clear light that we're all part of, then the non-dualistic approach automatically allows us to recognize that web, that causal web, or the clear light. Okay. So I'm going to skip the section Schools of Buddhism because you can read about it, and that's easy to do research on on the that thing called the internet. And I'm going to talk a little bit about taking refuge. So, if I said to you, what does it mean to take refuge? Whether you're a Buddhist, like maybe you don't know about Buddhism, what does it mean to take refuge? When things are tough, what do? You take refuge. The weather's really bad. What do? Take refuge. Let's go inside the house, go inside a store until the storm passes. When things are bad, we take refuge. And typically, as human beings will take refuge in money, sex, power, drugs, food, TV, distractions, medication, exercise. That's how we take refuge when things get tough. And certainly there's some beneficial effect from most of those activities but it is a very limited refuge. It's very short term. It's very ephemeral. Once the TV show is over or the sex is over, you're usually in the same place. Sometimes you can have a little change or a shift in mind, but usually it's over some point in time, you go back to your baseline state of mind, especially when that situation, if it's a difficult situation, returns. So in Buddhism, we have a more effective, always available refuge that has no downside to it. So what do we hope for typically when things get tough? We hope the cavalry is going to come and save us. Times are tough that's kind of what we're always, especially in America. Oh, the cavalry, someone's going to come and help us out, save us. In Buddhism, we are the cavalry. We're one and the same. So when we take refuge, if you do it formally, then you do it with a teacher. That's how you become a Buddhist. You take refuge with a teacher. They lead you through a short ceremony. But you don't need a teacher to take refuge if this helps you. An example of refuge vows from the Mahayana tradition, although they're all very similar, is I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. What does that mean? I take refuge in whether the Buddha was real or not, that's not what we're talking about here, is the way the life of the Buddha was lived, the characteristics, how he presented himself, all those enlightened characteristics. I take refuge in that. I rely on that. I take refuge in the Dharma are the teachings. I rely on them, whatever those teachings are that I've learned. And finally, I take refuge in the Sangha, that's the community. Now, the community can mean many, many things. The Sangha, back in the day, thousands of years ago, the Sangha really referred to fellow monks or nuns or the teaching community. So you can take refuge in that if you'd like. Today, people use the word Sangha a little differently. So if you're in a group of people, the group of people have a teacher, they call that group of people the Sangha because it's also a very supportive network for your practice. So an example of refuge vows are I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. And then when times are tough, you can recite that as a mantra or a prayer to deepen the meaning in your mind. And when you do it together with a teacher, that's synonymous with becoming a Buddhist, which is, as Lama Lanang would say, is a opportunity to practice 24/7 because it's all in our mind. It's not just, okay, I'm going to church, I'm going to synagogue, I'm going to a Buddhist practice, and then after that, I can let my mind run wild. From our perspective, that's what we're monitoring because all of our suffering, that second arrow, comes from the mind. Any thoughts, comments, or questions on taking refuge? Okay, so that's available to you as a tool as well. Okay, so I have a few announcements to make. So next week, we decided we're not going to meet. We'll meet the following week, which is on, I think that's probably New Year's Day, January 1st. And that'll be our last class. On January 8th, same time. So the class is over, but on January 8th, Lama Lanang will join us, those that want to attend. And he'll probably speak for a few minutes, I assume. And then he'll answer any and all questions. So you can ask him all those Bardo questions, all those 49-day questions, you can ask him. And he really enjoys, will very much enjoy meeting you and answer any questions you have on any of these topics or other topics as well. So next week we're all off, and then January 1st we'll have their last final class, and then January 8th we'll have a conversation, if you so wish, with Lama Lanang. After that, there are options for you. One option is, hey, go do whatever you want, not a problem. But there are other options, and they're all free or by donation as well. Some of the other options are Tibetan Buddhists typically have a daily practice which is called Nundro, Nundro. It's a foundational practice. It literally means what goes before. That's the literal meaning of Nundro, what goes before. And that practice helps to prepare our mind and our spirit for more advanced practices. So Nundro, many of us do that on our own on a daily basis. So what we've done is we've scheduled 3 times. So after January 8th comes 3 more Thursdays in January, where at this time at 6 o'clock for 30 minutes, a senior teacher, probably one of the most senior teachers that we have, um, I think she's online now. Maybe she is. Cynthia. Yeah. Cynthia's online. Cynthia Roscoe. She's waving to everyone. Hi, Cynthia. So Cynthia will lead us through an intro to Nundro practice Thursday night, 6 p.m. goes to about 6:30. And that practice will consist of, Cynthia will explain probably some of the prayers, maybe the visualization. There might be a short 5 or 10 minute meditation, and then 10, maybe 10, 15 minutes of, or less, of 4 or 5 of the prayers that are part of that Nundro practice. So next week we've got nothing. We're all off. Then comes January 1st, the 8th class. January 8th is Lama Lanang will join us. And then the following 3 Thursdays at 6 p.m. PST, Cynthia will lead an introduction to Nundro. It's one option. Another option is on Wednesday nights at 5:15 PST for about 60 minutes for several years now. Maybe I'm guessing 4 or 5 years. We've been holding a study group on different Buddhist topics. You're welcome to join that as well. That's Wednesday at 5:15. That is a different link than this one. So if you're interested in that, then you'll have to email Jigna Linkpa Center and get that link. And then sometime in the distant future, we plan on having an intro to Vajrayana practice. And then I might teach a class with a focus on Tibetan Book of the Dead for beginners. But those are way off into the future. So recap. Next week we're off. January 8th comes the 8th class. Excuse me. January 1st is the 8th class. January 8th is Lama Lanang teaching or answering your questions. And then 3 Thursdays after that, 15, 22, 29, Cynthia will be leading an intro to Nundro class practice, which is like a very, very basic class for those of you that want to start a Tibetan Buddhist practice for yourself. Yeah, so that's all there is about that. A lot of information. Anyone still with us over there? Anyone still awake or
So, are those like foundational classes before you move on? Are those all the classes that are offered?
right. So if you go to BuddhistSanDiego.com, BuddhistSanDiego.com, and click on the word calendar, you'll see there are 2 calendars with many events that happen during the month.
Yeah.
And you are all welcome to attend any and all of them, typically. Typically, this might be some that are for advanced students, but in general, but the thing is, some of them, if you attend them now, you're going to be lost.
Yeah.
The prayers are in Tibetan. The English translation, like, what does that mean? What are they talking about here? So based on our experience, we have found that people that do not have a very, very strong background in Buddhism, if you don't have that, then they get lost at those classes and those practices.
Okay.
That's why we're offering what we just did, this 8 sessions. And that's why we're also, of course, meeting Lama Lanang. And that's why we're also offering those introductory to Nundro sessions as well. And then, or the study group. And then, yeah, you're more than welcome to join those other classes and won't be so lost.
So is there like because I'm very process oriented, is it like a list of like what one should do after this instead of like yeah, like a table of contents. Because
Like a map?
yeah,
Let me get my map out. Hold on a second. Um, I think it's together with my timeline for the Reiners in the Bardo. No. So this is the map. The map is to go to, well, the map is to find a teacher and to follow the practice of that teacher. It doesn't have to be Lama Lanang. People might resonate with some other teacher. You might resonate with Zen. Frankly, people, if they resonate with Christianity and it's works for them, I love that. I'm all for all of that. I'm here to introduce Buddhist practices, and if you take it and it helps you, I think it's great. I'm definitely not here to promote any particular area of Buddhism or any, but I am associated with this particular human being and his sangha and his community. So from that perspective, the goal would be to help people learn more about Vajrayana Buddhism and specifically to practice more. Lama Lanang says, I am a practitioner. That's his specialty. He's a practitioner and a master, as opposed to others that their focus is on scholarly work. There's nothing wrong with that. But he's all about practicing and implementing all of these, everything that we've talked about. So the map is, yeah, acclimate yourself to, when you're ready and you're comfortable, to these other practices so you can go deeper and deeper and become freer and freer as a human being. That's kind of the goal. Good question. Good. Any other thoughts, comments, questions on anything? Okay. So as always, if you have comments, questions come up, feel free to email us. I'll, get back to you usually pretty quickly. And next week we're off celebrating Christmas. So everyone have a happy holiday. And then January 1st, I'll see you guys again for the 8th class.
Thank you so much, Morty.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Morty.
Take care. Take
Night.
care.
Thank you, Morty.
Bye.
Thank
Good
you.
information.
Take care.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
All right.
Bye bye.